Hey guys, it's Kelly. Hey, I got page 14. I'm out of order here. I know not all pages got recorded, but this is page 14 in my mini art journal series number 2. Called it There is Beauty in Simplicity, and hopefully you guys get some fun stuff out of this. So, for those that don't know, in my art journal, I kind of made this one myself and bound it myself with my Find It All. This one has 140-pound paper, watercolor paper in it, and I really, really love that paper. It's nice and thick, and it can take a lot of abuse as far as water, inks, paints, you name it, it can take it. So for this one, I just primed my paper. I did not gesso it. I just primed it with some water, a really, really light coat of water. And then the only thing I knew what I was going to do with this page when I began was to use these two colors. I wanted to use Picked Raspberry and Wild Honey. Those two colors together I'm finding are a really, really great, happy kind of combo. I've said before, I sometimes am a professional mud maker. I belong to the club, I tell you. And it's because I finally found out the reason why that happens. And although I knew it, I don't know, I just want to share what I found is my issue. So these two colors together are gorgeous. And no matter how many times I mess with them, they don't make mud. And that's the reason why is because it's two colors. Two colors, right? So I'm forever trying to add too much color. Too many different variation. Oh, I like that color. That would be pretty. Oh, those complement each other. It doesn't mean that you should mix them, that you should blend them. They don't always blend well. So in any time that I've ever had issues where I'm like, okay, that just turned black or gray, or why did that just happen? And it's because other than the obvious, like I just need to come away from you trying to use too many colors. I just need to have a base of two colors, variations of those two, different shades of it, so you can have, quote unquote, different colors from the same color. And then complement with the other colors and try to stop blending them all together as one. That just doesn't work. And again, guys, I'm not a professional artist. I've never took classes. I'm just playing. This is just my hobby. I love doing this. I do the videos just because. I don't do this for money. I just share because I get rewards in this. I love reading comments. I love to know that I helped, inspire somebody or motivate somebody to try some mixed media things or some jewelry or some of the things that I do. That's why I do it. But again, I'm not a professional artist, so I don't know. I learn by trial and error and other videos that I watch on YouTube every once in a while when I have time. So me being a professional mud maker, I'm going to go ahead and remove that badge because I'm going to stick with two colors in my backgrounds, and at the most three, depends on the area of real estate that I'm using. This is a very small page, so it needs to be simple. So yeah, so hopefully that will help somebody, because we've all made mud. Don't try to deny it. If you've done this, I know you've done it at least once or twice, so it's okay. I'm owning it. I did it. I own it. But yeah, anyway, so that is the Crafter Workshop 6x6 stencil. I've had that in my stash for quite some time. I think I've used it a couple times. I really love that. It's got all different kinds of textures and things on it. But I only wanted the circles. And I'm just using a baby wipe to lift some of that color from the background, kind of have like a ghosting effect. And it worked. It worked kind of, it was nice and subtle. I didn't want to use white on it. I could have, but I did want it subtle. And then I'm not introducing any new colors to the background. I'm just using it in different ways. So in this one, I've got Picked Raspberry, and I'm using my ink blending tool. And I'm just pouncing and twisting to get more color on there. And again, it's just an example of how you use the same color, but when you use it on different areas, or a little bit heavier, then you get a different shade of it. It's tone on tone, and I'm really loving it. That one got a little bit too dark, and it's too dark because it's on the yellow background, so it's kind of supposed to be, but I lighten it up. I pull some of that color back up with my baby wipe. No big deal. And then I also try to add like a highlight with the lifting technique, lifting the color off to offset my stencil to make it look like there's a highlight on there. And it kind of worked. It kind of didn't. It was just too subtle to really even make a big difference. But it was kind of a fun thing to try. I mean, I can see it when I look at the page, but I can't see it when I look at it on the video. So, and then so my background, that is a stamp that I use. It's my go-to stamp. I use it all the time. It's handwriting. It's script of some sort. I don't even think it's in English. I don't know. But it's not there for you to read. It's just there to add more interest in the background. I don't stamp it perfectly. I only stamp bits and pieces of it here and there. And I stamped it using Archival Vintage Photo. I really like how Vintage Photo looks with these two colors. It's very, very pretty. I think it was, you know what? That might have been Ground Espresso. Yeah, I think that was Ground Espresso, guys. Sorry. But still, Vintage Photo, really pretty with these colors. So although I really liked the butterfly that was on the stencil, it didn't seem scaled right. It wasn't going to do the right, it just wasn't going to work for me because I really wanted to color an image. I was feeling that need to color something. It's great therapy. It's always relaxing. I love it. So I wound up going to my Design by Rin stamps. I was a designer. I was on her design team a couple years ago. I miss her. It's been so long. I haven't talked to her. But this is a butterfly / moth. Her stamps are amazing, and she's just an amazing artist. She draws all these things, and they're deeply etched, and they're nature inspired, and they're just gorgeous, just gorgeous. And this is one of my favorite stamps in her collection. And I'll try and get a link down there because I think she's still got those available. But this one is one of my all-time favorites, and I love to color it. And I decided that I was going to go with embossing the image. And for those of you who are new to coloring, with watercolor, now I'm coloring with ink and I'm treating it like a watercolor. I love this technique. But if you're challenged with trying to watercolor with ink or watercolor with watercolor sets because you're trying to stay in the line of your image and it keeps, going outside of the line and you're getting frustrated, that's just part of watercoloring, right? So the cool thing about watercolor is that it moves and it creates that soft, unpredictable movement. But sometimes you want to watercolor and you need to stay in the lines. So if you're having a hard time with that and you're stamping an image, just plain stamping it, and then you keep bleeding outside and you're like, well, great, now I got to fussy cut this and I wasn't planning on that. Try embossing it with some very, very fine embossing powder. And that's what I'm using. It's just I got it from Michaels. It's a Recollections fine embossing powder. And that will allow you to color and not let the pigment in the water move outside of those lines. This is a great, great way to avoid getting frustrated when you want it to be in the lines, but you still want to watercolor. So I'm just cleaning up the embossing powder because that's like nails on a chalkboard for me when it's on my glass mat. But when you're coloring and you've embossed your image, it is very forgiving and the color stays where you want it to stay. Because when you're learning to color with watercolor or trying to use inks like watercolor, there's a balance that you need to find when lowering your brush with pigment and water. If you've got too much water in there, it's going to bleed. It's going to go outside your lines. But if you've got an embossed image, it will control that and give you enough time to pull it up with a paper towel. Now you can do that even if you're not embossed. You can pull it up, but sometimes that pigment's going to hang on to your paper, and that's not what you want. So I didn't keep all the coloring in. I just started, with a little bit, and I started with Tumble Glass, but I used glass. It was actually Broken China. So I used Broken China, Chipped Sapphire, Salty Ocean, Peacock Feathers, and Dusty Concord. All kinds of, different shades of blue to kind of color this in because I thought that those colors would complement it. So by the time I was done, there it is. And I was messing around with color combos. I was actually trying to see what Peacock Feathers and Salty Ocean would look like together. I would mix them and then, kind of swatch it out. It really wasn't a big difference. Wasn't even a difference worth even noting. But you don't know what you don't know. So you got to play with the colors and find out which colors you like. But yeah, the coloring an embossed image is what I highly recommend for people who are new to watercolor, or if you're trying to use your inks like watercolor. emboss your image. It will be very forgiving. It will make it less stressful. Because I've been there. I've been there when I was watercoloring images and I didn't emboss it and it went outside the line. And I'm like, ugh, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because I didn't have the balance right in my brush. I had too much water. And sometimes I had too much pigment. It takes practice. But I would get frustrated. So, and then I just fussy cut it out. I spared you the whole thing, but looks like I left some of it in there. And then I did stamp that on white paper, so I need to get rid of the white lines all around it. So I'm just using my Faber-Castell Pit Marker to remove all those white lines. I don't like those in there. And I love the Faber-Castell set that I have. Those are kind of pricey markers, guys, I'll tell you. They're pricey, but you get what you pay for on those. They last a very, very long time. And I use them over and over and over for shading and things like that. They are a India ink marker, so they dry pretty quick. But if you're doing it on a over Mod Podge or mixed media, collage media, anything like that, once it's sealed, it does give you a little bit of time for movement on it. So it's nice to just smudge it if you're trying to shade something. But yeah, those Faber-Castell, they got the really big ones, and then they've got the smaller ones. I opted for the smaller ones. They were a little bit cheaper, and plus I use this on some small substrates. I don't do like big canvases and things like that. So I love how the butterfly / moth turned out. I love the purples and blues, but there it is, just on the page, just floating around. I mean, I gotta ground it. You know, it just looks like, hello, excuse me, I'm just floating around on your beautiful background. But yeah, so I had to ground it somehow. And I wound up putting away my inks. So some of them, I finally made labels for those that haven't noticed before. I used to handwrite them and they were all over the place, but I finally, waited for the sales and I got the distress tins and I love them, absolutely love them. And then I was writing on them with a marker, and I was like, Kelly, you have a label maker. Just make the labels. So I sat one night and just printed off a bunch of labels. I'm glad I did. I'm so glad I did that. It was so worth the time. I haven't gone over each one and colored them because I just read the colors, but maybe I'll do that another time. I don't know. But like I always do, I love to outline my pages with Vintage Photo. I like to draw that in a little bit further, and then do the very tip of the page with black soot. I really think that helps create a frame for your page and brings your eye in. And that blending tool is one of the original rectangle blending tools that Tim Holtz came out with. I prefer that one, I gotta tell you. And maybe it's just because that's the one I learned on, I don't know. But I really do prefer that one. I got a hard line there for the ink, but I blend that in later, guys. But I like the rectangle one because of the control. For me, it's a personal preference. When I'm blending, I feel like I can control that brush a little bit better, or that tool a little bit better. This mini ones, I've used them all. The only one I haven't used is the makeup brushes, which those are coming. I'm going to give those a try. But this rectangle one, I feel like I have all kinds of different ways to hold it and manipulate it and angle it just the way I need it to. The mini ones, I feel like I lose the angle. So these ones are still my favorite. Even though all these new ones are coming out, they're great, I'm sure, but I still like the old school one. So I'm back to that same stencil, the Crafters Workshop stencil. And I'm masking it off because all I want from there, the only part I want is that circle with the splatters. And I'm trying to find my stencil to tell you. I think that stencil is still available from the Crafters Workshop. Yes, here it is. I left it masked because I love that circle and I love that splatter on there. I don't know why I love that, but I just do. This one is called Midi Butterfly Collage by the Crafters Workshop. And I've seen it at scrapbook.com. I've seen it all kinds of places carry that. But yeah, so I masked it off because I tell you, I'm so sloppy. I can't tell you how many times I wound up with that, where the stencil ends, I get that hard line of freaking ink. And it gets me so frustrated because now I just screwed up my background. Because you can't just blot it off because I'm using Distress Ink, so it activates with water. So yeah. And I would get lazy and be like, oh, I'll be fine. I won't go over. Yeah, sure enough. I just, yeah. So mask it, guys. Don't make the same mistakes I did. So it takes a little bit, but it's fine. So again, I'm just using my blending tool and I'm squishing it and twisting it. Excuse me. And making sure that I'm only getting that circle like I wanted. Had to be real careful at the end because don't want to wind up with the hard line syndrome. Mess up my background because I really like it. But that vintage photo goes so nice. It really does. I really like how it looks with the background colors. Ta-da! And I really like how the picked raspberry circles bleed into that circle. I like it. It looks good. So now the butterfly has a home on the page. Definitely looks like he's been framed in. He is meant to be there instead of just passing by in the way. And then I dry that up pretty good with my heat tool. And then I didn't like how the butterfly's body, it still had, I stamped it on white paper, so it's got white behind it. I did try to fill it in with some wild honey, but it wasn't enough. So I just used my gray pit marker and I just filled it in and it kind of took that blaring, here, look at my body, I'm a butterfly, whatever. Kind of took that away, so. Just needed to mute that down a little bit and I like that better. And then I was kind of messing with my sentiment. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But that enjoy thing was too big. And then I went with the Stampers Anonymous stamp from a new set I got from Tim Holtz. The man can do no wrong in my eyes. But I decided there's beauty and simplicity was cool because I liked the simplicity of the page. The simple colors. There was only 2 colors. There's only one big butterfly. And it's just simple. So it seemed to go really well. So the sentiment itself is good, but the sentiment is a little bit too big in my opinion. And what I'm asking for you guys is, I love the constructive criticism. If you're gonna, I don't have time for haters, but hopefully, you guys have got time to leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I feel that at times my sentiment competes with my focal point, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but this one, the sentiment itself is perfect, but it wasn't scaled right. It needed to be scaled down at least 3 notches, I think. 2 or 3 notches to really look like it belonged. But I'm interested to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that it was too overpowering? Do you think that it competes? And again, honest, constructive criticism. I tried stamping it just with vintage photo directly to the page. That definitely was not going to work. It just got lost in the background. But yeah, I decided that I'd put it on black. I got to say that I think that if I would have put that on brown paper, that would have been much better. But I embossed it with some fine embossing powder. And I thought that would go nice. The shininess of that would go nice with the shininess of the butterfly. It's kind of why I chose that. But again, in hindsight, brown background would have been a little bit better. And it still would have popped. But let me know what you guys think on that sentiment. Although I think, like I said, I think the sentiment itself is perfect. The scale is just not right. And I cut it down multiple times. So that's my Fiskars little mini guillotine thing. And it served me well for a long time, but I think that it's just getting old and it's losing its sharpness. Because sometimes that paper will move, even though you push it against the guide, you hold it there, and then you put it down, it still will move just ever so slightly. And I don't like that part of it, but you got to really hold it tight and really pay attention. You can't just put it there, put it against the thing, and then, slap it down. So I'm hoping that I can finally get that Tim Holtz Tonic Guillotine, that new one. Love that. I'm loving that. And I really, really want to get it, but it's sold out everywhere I try to find it. So hopefully I can pick that up soon, but this one will do the job for now. But When I put it on the page, I was like, oof, that's bigger than I thought it was going to be. So I trimmed it down as close as I could, to where it, made sense. But it still seems like, wow, here I am. Look at me. I'm a sentiment. Ignore the butterfly. Look at me. I don't know. I feel like they're competing. But again, give me your feedback. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sitting here like I do all the time, hemming and hawing. Put it on the page. I don't like it. I don't want to redo it. And then I read what it said. There's beauty in simplicity. Will you just stop it? Keep it simple. Just go with what you did. Hopefully you guys can relate to that. Like, I will mess around with the placement of things. I put them everywhere, all over the place. Sometimes I talk myself out of the best idea. So, anyway, kind of funny. But, so, I knew that I was going to put white splashes on there, so I thought, you know what? Just deal with what it says. There's beauty in simplicity, and just keep it simple, and move on. So, I wanted to put some pretty heavy white splashes on here to kind of draw in the white of the sentiment to make it look like it belongs, and it helped a little bit, but it was a minor help. And I just used paint and water. That's it. It's a really cheap, like, Americana paint that I got from Michael's for like 68 cents a bottle when they were on sale. And then I dried that paint pretty good. And then the white splatters helped a little bit, but it wasn't the beginning of the end or anything. But and I got some Aleene's Fast Grab tacky glue, I think that is. I either got that from Walmart or from Michael's. I can't remember. But it's pretty good glue, guys. It's, just for, everyday things. It's Fast Grab tacky glue. And you got a little bit of movement time to move it. And then it grabs pretty quick, just like it says. So, and I think it was like $3.99 a bottle. If you use a coupon, it's pretty cheap. It does not have a fine tip for a precision tip. So, but I don't always need that. So when I need that, I use the Nuvo glue. In love with that. The Nuvo Deluxe adhesive is clear drying craft glue. Best adhesive ever. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm just using my Jelly Roll pen, and I'm adding some highlights on that butterfly. Now you can't see it too well in the video, but when you look at it in real life, it really does help those colors just kind of pop right out. It's weird how that white just really, lights it up. So there it is. And I like it. I'm just going to go with it. I like how that circle framed in the butterfly. So I wanted it to have some dimension, but I didn't want the wings to just totally be flopping around everywhere, because this page is getting this book is getting kind of thick. So I just used some foam tape, and I only put it towards the center of the butterfly, and the wings can come up a little bit at the edge, and that worked out nicely. Popped it up a little bit and called that done. And then off camera, I went ahead and framed that in a little bit richer with the Vintage Photo in black soot. It wasn't dark enough for my liking. But there it is. So I hope you guys like it. And I hope that it helps some get through some tips. And don't forget to like, comment, and share. And hopefully some card videos coming soon. Thanks, guys.